everyone, I'm V and welcome to 4 Top 3s.
Hello.
I'm V, I am English and I live in Iceland.
Hello, V. I'm Cassie.
Hi,
I'm from
Cassie.
Germany.
Woohoo!
Hi, Cassie.
Also
I'm
have-
Aethor. I'm from Iceland.
Hello, Aethor.
Yay! And we also have...
Hi, I'm from America.
So, welcome to 4 Top 3s. Since this is a 5th episode, I think episode 10.
No, it's episode...
divisible by 5.
Oh, yes, it's 10.
Yeah, divisible by 5. We have a guest, and our guest today is...
Hello, I'm Karen. I'm from Sweden.
Woo!
Woo! I'm very happy to be here.
You may recognize Karen from things like Y2K. Woohoo!
Woo!
Yeah.
And also a voice on TLD and also
Yeah.
special episodes of TLD, whenever that may be.
Mhm.
And no doubt you're going to hear Karen and hear lots of Karen's wonderful script work and stuff that we do moving forward. So, because this is a nice round 5 divisible number episode, Karen got to choose the topic for this week.
I did. Yeah. Do you want me to tell you all about it? About my deep
Please do tell us. We don't know the topic yet. We still have to pick our favorites.
my deep reasoning for this. Okay, so I had a look at you guys' sort of list of topics that were possible, and I was very, very
This
tempted
was
by the
on there?
Pokemon.
Was
But
this on there?
but I didn't choose
Could
the
be.
Pokemon. I chose I picked something else. So I picked books because there were no books on there. And then I picked sci-fi because I thought fantasy would be too easy for you guys. And then I kind of thought, I don't know that much about sci-fi. Maybe they do. Maybe they can tell me all about sci-fi. And I don't know if that's happening. But we're going to be
Supposed to
talking
be a
about
learning experience for you.
shit we don't know about, I think. Yeah?
We're gonna
Yes?
learn nothing.
That's what we're doing, right?
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
Yep, so we're discussing our top 3, our 5 top 3 sci-fi books when, quite admittedly, none of us really read that many books anymore, and we certainly don't read sci-fi, so this is going to be amazing.
I think collectively, all 5 of us have maybe read like 10 sci-fi books. Apparently.
I've collectively
Honestly,
read 10
I might
books.
have the most. Like, I have
yeah.
read some sci-fi. I may have read 10 in total.
I've probably also read 10 in total, so the other 10 are for the rest of the 3 of you. But yeah, I'm actually, I have another reason. I'm writing sci-fi at the moment.
Yes,
so,
of course you are, yeah.
for a new show. So I'm like, yeah, okay, help me out here, guys. And you're all like, no help.
Oh, you're looking for inspiration.
So we're a research focus group? Great.
Yeah.
We're actually useful folks.
This is going to be the
You.
most eclectic collection of sci-fi books you're ever going to see.
All right then.
If our books are gonna be Venn diagrams, I think none of them will connect.
No.
None of them.
Yeah, I don't think they will at all. This is going to be glorious.
There's going to be 10, 12
okay.
circles all just anywhere.
And they will not connect to any recognizable sci-fi anyone has ever heard of
No.
either, right? Okay.
Well,
No.
I think
circles will
mine
also have
might.
different shapes.
I might.
Ooh.
Yeah, this can be triangle shapes. All right, so let's start with Kessie. What is
Me.
Oh yeah, by the way, Karen, it doesn't matter the order of your top 3. We have everything from favourite to least favourite to alphabetically to the amount of syllables it says to name them. So whatever order you wish, that's what you go for.
And V sometimes
All right,
changes her
Cassie.
nickname depending on however she feels like whether she wants to go next or not.
Yep, exactly that.
Right. Okay.
All right, let's start out with Kessie.
Yeah.
What have you got for us?
Okay, so since I only had read like I think a total of 4 or 5 sci-fi books, I had to think about this really hard, and I realized like not yesterday, but just in general, the kinds of topics that I like in sci-fi. Like I know a lot of people like when sci-fi is either a mirror of society or stuff like that, or like continues. Like shows how a certain line of thought can continue in the future, stuff like that. None of that interests me, so you're not gonna find any of that on my list.
Have you ever tried to watch Black Mirror?
No.
They are
some of those
really,
are really great.
they're really good at taking ideas that are like kind of like melting.
horror?
it can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sci-fi horror.
Okay.
Yeah, both.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
Okay.
sorry, go on.
Yeah, so the things that I like in my sci-fi are either very societies that live on a very unusual plane of existence, like different kinds of planets or stuff like that, or if the book focuses primarily on the aliens and their different biologies and stuff like that. So on my list, I have a book series that's called The Entire and the Rose by Kay Canyon, which is basically like it's set in so a human finds like a pathway into a different dimension in which no spherical worlds exist, but everything exists on one long plane that never ends. Which is a cool
Okay.
concept in and on itself. But I think the author didn't expect like to show that much. Like, I think the entire world that they span with their stuff could fit on one continent on Earth. So it's not a very long plane that they explore.
One endless plane of existence, but I am but one person, so I'm going to be like the Isle of
Yeah.
Wight. It's just like a really small
Yeah.
island.
It's not like I have an airplane in this different existence. I'm stuck.
I mean, it was fun that they explored like the stuff like how does night and day work, or like what's the
Yeah.
equivalent in that world. They explored some of that, but I think it had like its limits.
So
It is a
what-
4-book series.
it's 4 books.
And what's
This
it
sounds like
about? I don't get it.
So yeah, Aiko, please question.
It sounds like so one of my books has a theme that I didn't realize until I read it like really far into it, and it sounds like your book has a theme of pro flat Earth. I'm just gonna say that.
Okay, I didn't know of flat earthers when I read about it, because this was like almost 10 years ago that I read it. I think I still lived with my parents back then. So no. So the premise of the story is that there is this this guy that found a pathway into this dimension like 10 years or so ago, and he and his family somehow got into that world, and his wife died there, I think, but his daughter is still stuck there, and he got transported back to the normal plane of existence, and then he joined a bunch of quantum physicists to try and find a way back into that world. And then eventually he managed, like they managed to open up a gate to into that dimension. Plane. Literally plane. I didn't want to steal V's plane of existence stuff. And so he starts seeking his daughter in that existence there, in the dimension.
And does it like start like a social political thing? Like, are there factions in there, or is it all just like, oh, I come across a strange plant and strange machines and strange people?
I think it's been a while since I read it. There were different factions in the beginning, like political involved people that, like, on the human side, on the Earth side, that were trying to utilize the knowledge of this dimension to like as an like an interim wormhole to travel through that plane to other places on Earth, kind of like that.
Okay.
But I think it was only touched upon. I don't think it was like I don't
Wasn't like
remember.
the focus.
Yeah, it wasn't the focus of that one. It might have been like down the road in like maybe the 4th book or something, but so in the 3rd book, I think he finds his daughter, and then they explore in the 4th book what happened to her. But it was like completely focused on a different race that never came up in like any of the other books, and also that exists in another dimension.
Oh no!
And it was so completely. I don't know. I never got into the 4th book, even though I listened to it as an audiobook, and I re-listened to it twice because I thought, let's give it a chance. I didn't get what the fuck was going on there, but I like the idea behind it. So that's why it's on my list.
I'm getting your selection process now, Cassie. It's sort of the ones that didn't suck. I'm picking the ones that didn't suck.
Yes.
I feel that might be a running theme.
Yeah.
Is do we even remember a sci-fi book, and did it suck?
As clarification, the other two on my list, I was very much behind, except for one of them where I wasn't behind the last book. But that's usually like, the trilogy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did love the other books.
I personally have like a massive fondness for like multi-dimensions and like like planes of existences. There's just something I just love the idea that we are in a thing, and if I had to phase slightly to the left or vibrate a different frequency, there is a different plane just happening all around us. I have a great fondness for that in sci-fi.
Yes,
I like
me
it.
too. I love that.
There's an entire book about that. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but it is all humans have the ability to sidestep dimensions easily. We just don't know we do it. And somebody randomly in the book tells all humans like, oh, make this little box that is basically just a string and like paper clips. And then
It's the Terry Pratchett, the Long Earth series, I think.
yes, Long Earth.
Yes.
And if you step to the left, you go to a different version of Earth just to the left. And the only stopping factor in the first book is the fact that Earth doesn't exist like 5,000 Earths to the right and like 3,000 Earths to the left.
Yeah.
So you step left too far and you just end up in the vacuum of space and you're dead. And the first book just takes like place in like, it's basically just talking about the idea of what happens if we have all the space in the universe and all the resources in the universe. But the limiting factor is we can only move ourselves. We cannot take items with us, or it's like hard.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the longer.
So was that your book?
No. I would not have brought it up if it was mine.
See, if we did TV series, I could talk forever about this. I don't have a book one that I could relate this to. I only have TV series I could relate this idea to. I'm sorry.
You can just say you read the scripts.
Well,
I
surely
read
your
the
tangent
scripts.
can be a TV series.
Ah?
Surely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, so Stargate does this idea pretty well in one episode where like Sam and someone else get stuck in a slightly odd dimension. I think Daniel was stuck in the other one too because Daniel was in everything. And in Star Trek, there is an episode where Beverly Crusher gets stuck in a warp bubble and she's just very slightly out of phase with everyone else, and I love it.
Yep.
All right. That was
very
my
cool.
TV tangent. I'm sorry. I have to kind of put my nerd glasses back, otherwise I will talk forever about those two series. All right. Thank you, Kessie. That sounded awesome. I am a huge fan of planes on different distances. So.
Of planes. Full stop.
Check.
Full stop. Not circular globes, planes. Oh, yeah, I'm finished. All right, Karen, how about you?
How
That's
about
one
me?
of your list.
Yeah, okay. So what I realized, I just sort of picked this and I thought you guys would be the stars of this show, but no, apparently not.
Nope.
No.
I probably have
One of
read,
us.
I probably have read most sci-fi out of any of us, which is not that much. But when I start to think about the sci-fi that I have read, it's all sort of tangentially something else. So I tend to like a lot of time travel sci-fi, which has elements of all sorts of other things, fantasy or horror or things like that. But I also, when it is sci-fi, I tend to really enjoy feminist, queer, sort of eco-conscious sci-fi. And my
What is eco-conscious?
Yeah, like ecology. Let's not waste our
ecology.
resources.
Okay,
Yeah.
I thought like you meant the echoes in a room. I was like, what?
Echoes of planes of existence. Yeah, exactly. And my very first experience of that kind of sci-fi, which is a little dated now, which is probably the sci-fi book I have read the most out of any sci-fi book ever, is called Grass by Sherry S. Tepper. And it's came out in...
title.
Someone is nodding.
I said bold title, like an ungoogleable title. Like you are setting yourself up for a difficult fucking book to sell.
I need the author so I can put a link to this without people just searching grass.
Where can I buy grass?
Well, it's not weed, at least. It could have been worse. And I'd never thought about that, so that's cool. But I was also like, I don't know, 18 or something when I read it the first time, so I was very innocent. Anywho, Sherry S. Tepper is the author, and it's actually about a planet called Grass, which all the vegetation on there is grass in different colors. And there's an incredible starting sequence of just describing all this grass.
Grass.
Yep. So it sounds amazing. You really get the picture in your head of all that sort of shades of various blues and greens and reds in the grass. However, the book is about there's a plague. This is a sort of humanity has colonized loads of planets. There's a plague on every planet except for on grass. And the evil religious fanatics people send out a human family to grass to bond with the human colony there, who are very sort of standoffish, and to sort of be diplomats, basically, and figure out what is going on here. Why is there no plague on grass? So that's the basic premise. And there's this whole amazing sequence of these people are sort of like British aristocracy, and they do this fox hunt type thing, but it's not with horses and it's not with dogs. And this family that comes there bring their own horses because they've heard that it's all equestrian and you're gonna get along with these snobbish colonists of grass. But they're actually straight out of a horror movie. These hippie are the creatures that they ride to do this hunt. And then they have hounds, and it's just really incredibly scary. They sit there and they have to brace themselves because if they go forward, they will spike themselves on the hippie's sort of neck. I don't know, neck
Frill
fang
spike
thing. I don't know what the heck it is, but it's really scary. So that's the sort of premise of this story. And then it's all about, and then it sort of derails halfway through and turns into this weird thing about religion, which is a bit odd. But the first half is amazing.
All hail the grass!
I wish, that would have been cool. But no, it's not that. So it gets a little bit iffy. But the first half is just incredibly atmospheric. And it's this story of this woman and her 2 kids and her husband. And they try to infiltrate these really weird sort of posh British people that are not posh British people that ride the fox hunt. That is definitely not a fox hunt. And it's just pretty cool. Yeah.
I'm curious. Are the natives to grass painted as like bad, or are they the good guys? Like,
well, I mean, the human colony on grass is not quite the good guys. The native species on grass is basically the horror creatures that are fairly evil. There is another species that turns up that is not evil. That I won't spoil it, but they're not evil. No. They're the good guys, and it's actually the first in a very sort of loose trilogy. But I've never kind of read it as a trilogy because it's just too loosely connected. So. Yeah,
you read the first 2/3 of grass. You just imagine a lot of grass. You're just in your own little heaven, and then you close the book.
No, you're in your horror. You're scared. You're really scared of these horrible hippie. Yeah, and then you close the book once it starts getting religious and weird.
Once it gets weird, close the book. I wish I could have done that in some books I read. Like, I wish I had the foresight just to stop reading how bad this book goes. I guess my question is, do they find out why the plague isn't on grass?
Yes, they do.
Surely.
Okay. Do they accidentally bring the plague to grass?
No.
Ooh.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And do you like the setting of the book more than, example, the plot? This is kind of what I'm feeling you're saying.
I like the setting and I like the characters. And I really like these scary hippie creatures because they're so scary. And I also like the sort of the main character. Her name is Marjorie, and she's sort of trying to save the world without having a clue of what the heck is going on. And she goes on this horrible fox hunt thing that isn't a fox hunt. I mean, fox hunts are horrible anyway, so, you know, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Anywho, yeah. So I like the feeling it gives me, and then it starts going off, and I don't quite like the feeling anymore.
Kind of similar to what I was having with my book.
Exactly.
So I would assume you don't highly recommend it, but like if you got a spare time.
I mean, I would definitely say read it, but be aware that it sort of has two very different parts. And if you like the first part, you might not enjoy the second part, but you know, you might like both. I mean, Sherry S. Tepper is a very sort of first wave feminist sci-fi writer, which is very cool, but she also, along with everyone else, sort of gets stuck in some things. Yeah.
There were a couple of talking points that are tired today.
Yeah, exactly. That are tired, but also that are sort of, you know, everyone is just versed in this patriarchy, even the feminists. So, you know, they write this feminism and then they write the patriarchy in their feminism. And, you know, like 30 years later, you're like, what is this crap? So, yeah, basically.
Okay.
Oh, you tried.
Yeah, exactly. But you tried for
So
where you
is this
were.
a 30-year-old book then?
Yeah.
It is. It came out in 1989. So, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Younger than one of the books on my list.
Yeah, younger than one of mine, too, actually.
Yeah. Cool. Well, Grass, from your description of Grass, I already have a bunch of shit written down I'm totally going to steal, so thank you for that.
Cool.
All right, Neil, what have you got in your list, my friend?
Oh no.
He has to look up his list now.
I do.
Yeah. What was the author?
Quickly
Please.
Google sci-fi.
I don't even have Google open. Last night I just screenshotted like some Wikipedia pages. I can't even browse them.
You just randomly clicked the word sci-fi on Wikipedia and whatever came up, he's like, this is my book.
Read the plot summary for the books and chose his favorite ones.
No. Well, almost. You're almost there.
Neil.
So, what I have done, because I don't read, and I get reading. I get it.
Audiobooks are valid.
Yes.
Books are
Yeah.
valid. Books are valid. I understand that, like, it's a different medium. I just don't consume them. And
Okay.
I used to like them as a kid. But I can remember nothing about them. I didn't read sci-fi. So, books were a very, like, young Neil thing. And then Neil stopped giving time to books. Because books do take time. Don't lie to me. Don't lie to me. There's some movies where I watched them and I'm like, wow, I'm glad I didn't read the book. It would have taken more time. But there are some in which the movie is good and then the book is supposedly better. And I'm like, whoa, I totally get that. I've prepared a list of movies that I've seen that are based on books.
Ah.
We'll accept
I've
this submission.
Filtered through this list to try to find the
We will
ones
allow it.
where the book was good. Okay. Back looking through my list
I'm
now.
seething over here.
Why are you
You're
so
seething because you
angry?
didn't think of it before.
Yes, it's a genius idea, Neil.
It is a really good idea.
Don't work harder, work smarter.
No, that's a genuinely really good compromise since you don't read a lot of books, Neil.
Yeah.
I'm joking that I'm mad. It's a good idea.
You're just mad because you didn't think of it first.
I have 3 good books, and I have surprising amount to say about them when I think about it.
And since
All right then, Neil.
I've done this, I'm going to go ahead and pull this really unique one out because I do think that I have a more interesting later discussions as well here. Because I have a bunch of things saved, actually. I don't watch a lot of movies either, so this is really tough for me. Okay.
Neil, what's your book?
Slash movie.
Slash
Hector's at
movie.
the edge of his seat there, and he's not even sitting.
The movie The Prestige is based off a book.
Ah.
Really?
And if you don't understand how that's sci-fi, then you haven't watched The Prestige. And I can't
haven't
spoil
watched
for
it.
you,
I don't know what this is about.
unfortunately.
I don't know
no.
either. I don't even recognize the title.
It's so
I've watched it, but I can't remember it. What's it about?
All right, everyone who cares about spoilers, I'm just gonna try to explain the whole thing. It's gonna be really bad, but you should probably go watch the thing. And if you haven't seen it and you don't want to hear me describe it right now, then go away. All right.
For a bit and come back.
skip
Fast
forward
forward,
like 10
then come
minutes.
back.
Skip
Go
forward
watch the
10
movie.
minutes.
Guys, pause the podcast, watch the movie, come back to this later.
Brilliant.
All right.
To listen to Neil
Prestige.
talk about the movie.
Is a story about two magicians that are kind of against one another. They used to be buddies, then stuff happens. And throughout this thing, they're talking about they're basically trying to come up with the best magic act. And what ends up happening, and this is how I'm skipping right to it. This is like the big
Are you just going to tell them the
Thing.
fucking reveal at the end of the movie?
Aether, they just watched the movie. The audience watched the movie just now.
Should I? Because that's what the point
Yes.
of the thing is.
Oh, yeah, you're a good point. You're a good point, yeah.
Right? Because when you get to the end, so this dude goes to Nikolai Tesla, who's played by David Bowie. So go watch this movie, y'all.
It's a good one.
It's good. And it's like he's figured out how to make duplicates of things, and he has this big machine, and this big machine is duplicating like himself. And that's his big trick. And his rival's like onto him, and he's trying to figure this thing out. Trying to figure out his trick. But it turns out that he's making copies of himself with this big machine that he had Nikolai Tesla make for him. This is why it's sci-fi. He's literally cloning himself. The other magician is just like, he has a twin, and that's their thing. And when like one of them loses his finger at the beginning of the movie, the other one had cut his off so they could continue this long con. And it's just like the kind of clash of those two extremes of this one magician being so jealous of another that they go to the extreme of basically
It's a
cloning himself
fantastic movie about two men, like two rivals.
great.
Yeah.
And he
And
doesn't know if he's the clone or not. And he knows he's going to kill the other one so that he can continue this trick.
It's really good. I can highly recommend it, at least.
I don't remember it very well, so obviously I didn't think it was that good, but I don't have anything against it from what I remember, but I'm just
It's
like,
got Hugh Jackman, David Bowie.
It's fantastic. If you have not seen that movie, and even if I have just ruined it for you with my terrible, terrible description of what is going on by my very loose memory of the thing, very good.
I
And
did not know that was a book.
it's Christopher Nolan, right? The director? I think it's
believe so,
Christopher.
yes.
Christopher Nolan?
I think it's Christopher Nolan. I don't usually. I tend to get angry. His movies tend to make me angry, and this one did not. So I guess that's quite good. Yeah. Okay. I'm lukewarm over here.
Did Nolan do Memento? Am I misremembering?
I think so. Yeah.
I think so.
And
he's
the
a fantastic.
Inception and and Interstellar and Tenet, and I'm now Googling, so I did not remember that.
That's a funny movie. I'm now Googling.
Quick, someone get that trademark. Yes.
Is Interstellar based on a
I
book?
had to check
liked
if it
that
was
one.
Christopher Nolan or not, because I
It
was
is,
like,
yeah.
maybe it's not, and I'm just making shit up. But it was.
I like clones in my sci-fi because the whole concept of clones is ridiculous. Like, I'm gonna do the whole Star Trek thing now, but like the idea of teleporting someone is just cloning yourself and destroying the original. So there is no
Yeah.
ethical dilemma,
Yeah.
except in that one episode where Riker finds his duplicate stuck on a planet because his planet version couldn't get out, but he was duplicated in there. So there are two of
This
them.
is one of those things where it's a very kind of flash morality check of this character who's been going through just the most extreme stuff to just figure out, just to beat his rival. And it takes a special person to like go on stage and do this performance and not know if he's going to be the clone or not, It's a big morality bomb for this character, and it's kind of like this is at the end, so that you got to understand that being the thing at the end, the whole movie is like him becoming that person that's willing to do that every night. So the cloning aspect of it is wild, and that's not even like this. It's not even it's just the little sci-fi twist about this movie. It's not even like it's just one amazing bit of it.
I also have like a really big soft spot for anyone who uses Nikola Tesla and stuff. So I used to work for a company called Tesla based off the fact that it was this guy. It's not the car company. I'm not that flash or that good. So I worked for the company called Tesla, and I learned a lot about Nikola Tesla because of that company. And his life was wild.
Yeah.
He had an interesting life, and I absolutely love it when sci-fi uses him because that just gives him more notoriety, more like eyes on him. So I always have a soft spot for that too.
Yeah, he was in one of the Doctor Who, the 13th Doctor first season episodes as well. So I agree with you.
I think so, yeah.
I'm pro Tesla.
I read through like a biography on Nikola Tesla. Somebody made like a retrospective on him, and he comes across as a very optimistic person with the like knowledge and know-how to do a lot of it, but then sometimes his like ambition gets away from him, and that's really what kills him in the end. It's the fact that he wants to save the world, and he knows roughly how to do it, but he doesn't really, and he just keeps trying.
Yeah, he also had like no real business sense.
Oh no,
he really didn't know how to organize his shit or his life. So he kind of got screwed on that. Well, that was a very solid call, Neil, and I'm very jealous of your idea of using movies based on books. You fuck.
Yeah, it's just great because he becomes the bad guy basically in this dramatic way, and it almost like just leads up to it the whole time because they're even in the beginning of the movie, there's like a bird in the cage trick where the cage collapses on the bird and the bird dies in the trick, and then they just have another bird, right? And it's like the whole like, some of them are so casual about it, and then some of the people are uncomfortable about it, and it's not really discussed. But that whole theme is like teased throughout the movie of like, right and wrong and magic, and then you're watching this guy like fuck up big. In the end, I'm
assuming I'm probably now going to be like the rest of our audience and go watch this.
Yeah,
I wonder what my perspective on this will be different knowing the twist before I start watching it.
No. The people they were supposed to stop this podcast and watch it.
You.
Oh yeah,
everyone in the audience watched it at this point.
Watched it too.
Totally
we just sat here and waited for 2 hours while we watched the movie. Yep,
We shared popcorn among ourselves.
totally did that. Yep.
I did a was it V reacts to the Prestige video?
Yep.
That's on our Patreon, by the way. Sign up for Patreon to get
Say that, Cassie. No.
Hey, we can retcon that. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
Oh god. Fun.
Don't worry,
All right.
I'll react with you. We can do a movie night together.
That's true. All right, Aethel, what have you got?
All right. So my friend randomly recommended a book to me, and I listened to the other book version of it, and it's called Koban by, I have the name written down, Stephen V. Bennett. And the setting of the first book is fantastic. I absolutely fucking love it. Humanity is now amongst the stars, and we recently accidentally plagued ourselves almost out of existence. Like 1/50th of all men are alive because we had like a clone war. So we made like gene shit to kill the clones, but all the clones were male, and then the gene shit like attached to real men that weren't clones. Blah 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 blah. Whatever. We killed most of men.
Okay.
And that's just a backdrop. It has almost nothing to do with the rest of the book. It's just a solid backdrop, and it gets referenced from time to time because like now women are courting men because like there are so few men that like the marketplace has kind of shifted. It's kind of funny. One of the like running gag is that all men have like vibrant colors around their crotch area to like signify them, and it's dumb shit. It's background shit. I'm talking about background shit.
So what's the story?
You're following a ship. You're following a ship that's moving people to a colony, and it gets hijacked by aliens. The first aliens humans ever meet, and the aliens are brutal. They're absolutely fucking brutal. But they want to capture people. But if people step out of line, they're dead. They take the colony ship to a planet, and they drop everybody on the planet, and they're like, okay, in 10 days we're gonna hunt you, and you are gonna prove if humanity is even worth fighting. If you guys suck, we're just gonna nuke you. And it's just like, okay. And then the whole book is about them trying to overcome these aliens who have this like really barbaric, they want to fight. They just want to fight. And they believe in like an idea of like force evolution through fighting. So whoever is the best fighter, he gets to breed and like make offsprings, and the shit fighters just die. And they're trying to forcefully evolve themselves into the best things. But they ban gene splicing. And that's what humans get the upper hand on. And it turns out the colony ship that we were following, it had a secret department of like gene splicing, and that's how they actually prove that humans are worth fighting on the colony. Because humans were never going to stand a chance in that scenario they were given. It's a fun book. I really like it, and I think it shows a very interesting view on gene splicing and warfare and fighting and the idea of aliens and blah, blah, blah. And it's such a power trip. Throughout the whole book, the humans are getting stronger and stronger and stronger. They do it so fast through like illicit means, and it's fantastic. It's such a fucking power trip. And I like it because it's balanced. It's really showing the gratuitousness of war, but at the same time, the possibilities if we let our ambitions like slip a little bit. And then the second book is just more power fantasies with less of the balance. And then the third book is just more power fantasies. And it just becomes this dick-waving competition. And I got so fucking tired of it. And I hate it because I love the first book so much. But it starts out really well, in my opinion. I really like the book, and I would definitely recommend the first book. And like generally, just follow the series until you get bored of it. But I enjoyed it highly, and I think I gave up on the fourth book when they defeat the first alien race and they introduced a second alien race. And I was like, "The fuck is? Get the fuck out of my face! This is
How many books are there?
I think they're up to 7, and from what I saw, like in the 7th book, they're introducing more political stuff. It's less war, more politics. Because like genuinely how they defeat the war with the mega aliens is literally just war. They just fight them to death. They fight them until they're all dead, and that's how we win. It's like, oh. Okay. No peace treaties, no like give and take, no sectioning off, no compromises. It's death. But that's kind of the point of the evil race.
I have a question.
Yes.
What is gene splicing?
Oh, it's the idea of using technology to add things to our DNA.
Oh, okay.
So when they land on the planet, most of the humans almost die instantly because the planet is both very hot and very heavy. The gravity is really, really heavy. And they used genes they had lying around in the ship because the ship was supposed to be like, it had like a secret purpose of adding gene splicing to this colony. and they start adding just random shit they can find to the humans, and they find something that gives them really dense bones and strong muscles. I think they gave them
So basically just augmentation.
yes,
through-
augmentation. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the book keeps going, and they start introducing alien species with unique, like very unique abilities, and then the humans gain just stupid abilities.
That sounds like Dragon Ball in a book.
Oh, it's so Dragon Ball. You're 100% there. No, it's a fantastic power trip. It just gets kind of boring because they never lose, really.
It does sound a little bit like the Hunger Games as well, in the sort of competition thing. And also in the
movie
repetition.
That's a book.
Yes, that is a book or books.
Yeah. This one is a lot more heavy on the sci-fi and a lot less on the politics. I think the Hunger Games get about politics. I gave up after the second movie.
Yeah, I read all the books and also gave up after the second movie. It kind of is about politics, but also it's the first book is quite good in itself, and then it sort of starts over in the second book, and I'm like, okay, you're doing the same thing again, which sort of sounds like what you're saying about this series, Aethor.
Funny that you should say that, because the same guy who recommended the Copen book to me, he read Hunger Game and said, don't dare you watch that fucking movie. Go read the book. And then I watched the movie. I'm sorry, Oiden.
Oh, Oiden.
Yeah. But I don't think there's a lot to say about this book, but I do recommend it if you're just into the idea of sci-fi power tripping. It's fun.
I'm so glad I don't have to talk about Hunger Games now. I can delete that picture from my phone and talk about it differently.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, that's okay.
We can talk about it when it comes to
I've not
it.
even chosen from this my top two yet.
Oh, Neil.
I'm happy to talk about Hunger Games again, Neil. It's fine.
No, it's okay. That was pretty
We'll
much it.
definitely talk about it as an honorable mention. We'll just have to.
Yeah.
That was pretty much
Just as
it.
a heads up,
You got
we
it.
talked for almost an hour, and we only got through we didn't even get through the first round.
Ooh,
This is exactly how we do. This happens every time. So the
You
book
asked me to
I'm
describe
going
a whole
to
movie.
suggest. I read this book when I was 9. It's a very short book. It was aimed for kids. It was like young adults. So this was like levels above what I should have been reading at the level. But I used to read a lot of books as a kid, like just loads of them. However, I picked up a book from our school library one day called The Huntsman. And it was basically a book following this kid who'd been found in the forest. It's set on an alien world. And they're talking about like the fact that he lives in a very small village. Whenever like they get too technologically advanced, there's usually some sort of plague or there's something that comes in and destroys the towns. So they purposely try to not evolve their technology. Except that this kid who was being raised decided he didn't want any of that shit. So he went to explore the world to see if other towns, other places like that were like that, or whether his town was just backwards thinking. And he comes across a very old and ancient city, and he goes down into it, and he gets hunted down by these big alien-looking creatures, and they seem to be tracking him wherever he goes. Now he left the village, and he goes and hides in one of these big metal cities that was partially buried underground, and it was some sort of going through it like I, knowing our world, realized this is a military base and this isn't an alien planet, this is Earth. And he goes through, he blows up the bunker with the aliens in it because he's like, ha, screw this. And that's the end of book 1. And I loved it so much because I figured out what the word grenade meant because some of the letters were missing off the thing that he was reading. I was so excited. And I showed my dad, and my dad read it. And the next, over the next week or so, my dad received parcels. I'm like, what the fuck is this? He loved reading the book so much that he went and brought me the sequels to it. And it's a series called The Huntsman. And they're just 3 very short little books about this one guy, the kid that they found in the forest, how he had been altered genetically by aliens and how the aliens had, in fact, crushed all of the kind of technological advances we had on our planet and basically started terraforming it. But they needed humans to keep the terraforming going, so they were just given enough just to basically keep the land tilled over and grow the various resources that they wanted, while the aliens went and did things like digging out like bits and pieces. But they also genetically engineered and fucked with certain humans so that they could have slightly more powerful people that they could more easily control and set as overseers. And it's about how that group of people come together and just go, fuck you aliens, and just make it so that they can't come back. I don't remember any of it. I was a younger kid and I haven't read it for like 20 years now, I guess. So yeah, that was my number 3 choice.
And what was the
I loved
author's name?
The author's name is Douglas Hill, and it was written in 82, 83, and 84. He did 1 book per year.
I've never heard about it, but it sounds like just the kind of thing I would have enjoyed then and now, actually. Yeah.
I love it. I love it because it has like we were talking. You were chatting about how like, hey, sci-fi plus this.
Yeah.
This is sci-fi plus apocalypse,
Yeah.
and I think this may be where I have an absolute love for the apocalypse in our world, but things are slightly different. I think it's mostly based on this book, and it's just heavily like apocalypse when you realize it's actually set on Earth, and all of like the human technology that has just gone to waste, places that become just absolutely destroyed by radiation because all the nukes have like destabilized and shit. So it's just it was a series that I remember as a kid. It was one of the very few sci-fis I read as a kid, and I loved the shit out of that book. So when you were like 3 sci-fis, I'm like, I could literally do 3 from the same series. No, find other ones. That was my plan. I was going to do each one was just the next one in the series, but I don't remember enough about individually. And they were only short books, they were kids' books, young adult books. Yeah. So that's my choice.
Yeah. Cool.
How short do you think is a short book? Are you talking like less than 100 pages?
Oh, yeah. These books were easily like 56 pages long. They really weren't very long.
Real short books.
They might have had really small text, but they were really small books. Like my dad read one in an evening. That's how he decided just to go buy the other ones. So yeah, it's pretty short books.
So you would just recommend like just binge the entire discography?
Yeah, just buy them. They're really cheap. Just binge your way through them. They're just fun. They just had it appealed to my childlike brain. And I thought it was sci-fi enough. My dad loved it enough and he only ever read sci-fi books. Like we went back to Britain like last week, and everything in my dad's bookcase is sci-fi. He doesn't read anything else. So I considered it sci-fi because he read them.
He's 80 something and he's reading Dune.
Oh, I love that.
My dad was like that too when he could still read. Like he was always reading Perry Road and like the tiny little books that were like little magazines, basically.
Just like they're really like I would say vinaigrette type ones, but that means that's way too small. Like novellas, like much smaller.
They were very small. Like I don't know if you know the Perry Roden series, but there's like over 1,000 of those magazines. They're very short.
Oh,
blimey! All right, that's me done. I don't think there's any questions about that. Just fond memories. There we go. This is why I love Apocalypse. Thank you, these books.
Thank you for coming to V's TED Talk.
All right, Cassie, what else is on your list?
It is me.
Yay!
It is you. Second on my list is a book series I bring up for the 3rd time now in those 10 episodes that we recorded so far, and it is the Animorphs series because it is sci-fi.
That's a good point. There's like aliens and shit in it. Yeah.
Yes, it is a war with the aliens.
That works.
And specifically because I think we said that it should be either books or like a very short series. The Animorphs book series is like 50 books. Yeah. So I decided to like go with they have like they're called megamorphs. They're books like additional to the normal series that focuses on the alien races. And I couldn't decide which one because I haven't read them in a long time. So I picked out the Holkbayir Chronicles and the Elimist Chronicles, which are 2 different alien races. One is about so in the Animorph series there are 2 cosmic forces who used to be normal people that battled with each other so much that they continued growing in power, and eventually they both ended up in a black hole, and then they continued their fight in there and realized that they had like powers to control some of the universe around them, and started to pose the alien races against each other to continue their fight that way. That is the Alchemist Chronicles. And then there's the Hork-Bajir Chronicles, which focuses on one of the alien races is called the Underlights, which are like blue centaurs that can turn into other animals that also give their powers to the Animorphs, which makes them humans that can turn into animals. Not animals, like any creature they touch. So the Underlights try to help the Hork-Bajir, which is like reptiles with a lot of clawy appendages. Oh no, Aethor! Stop. I did say at the beginning of the podcast that I do love stuff that focuses around alien planets.
Keep going.
Yeah. They join each other in their fight against the Yeerks that control the alien races for their purposes. But it is a losing fight, and they eventually lose the Hork-Bajir as a race, as a planet. And the Andalite that joins the Hork-Bajir decides that since she could see from the start that they were losing the planet, and there was nothing that she could do about it, Neil is dying in the corner.
Is this going on beside the Animorph series?
Yes!
Same author.
Yes,
Shit.
they are very good. See, since they can, since the Underlight can tell that they are losing the planet, they decide to just live out their life as one among them, like morph permanently into one of the Hork-Bajir and just live with them and try to fight as best they can and do as much damage as they can. And that's basically how that book series ends. There, the one book ends.
You said Megamorphs.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, you said Megamorphs, and my brain literally went, I know that series now.
Do you know it?
And
Really?
I can see it. Like I can see the front covers of
I
them. We
know,
used to have a lot of them at
yeah.
school, and I know I read one of them to my So we used to have like 4 like year groups like per school, and I read it to one of the lower years. I don't remember which one, but you were talking about like I
can
remember
almost see
Megamorphs.
that
I remember
blue
seeing it on the
centaur.
front cover. I know what it looks like.
Oh no, and Neil also read it, but you don't know the Animorph series?
No, I've not read them, but I've seen a lot of the covers. That was, I mean, my library time as a kid was like, I'm not going to read these, but look.
They're lying
Have a
around
fish.
somewhere. You're looking at them. Yeah, okay.
I did hear from a friend that was like, I always saw these books in my library and they scared the shit out of me because of the covers.
Yeah. They were really rad covers.
You sounded like a 5-year-old who just got sugar for the first time.
Aw.
That was fantastic. I'm sorry for distracting you. That was a great summary of the most anime plot I've ever fucking heard. I loved it.
Well, there's a lot of anime sci-fi, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Oh yeah.
You with your Dragon Ball books, stay silent over there.
Yeah, nerd.
Oh, perfect.
Baka!
But like, okay, can you read the Chronicle books without reading the extended Animorph lore?
I don't remember, but I think you can. I think they make a good job of introducing you to the alien races and some of the characters that are recurring without they describe them well enough that as a new reader, I think you can pick it up without knowing the context of the first book, and without making the readers that already know these characters feel bored.
Okay.
That's as much as I remember. I could be wrong though, but I think it was that way.
All my knowledge about Animorphs comes from, funnily enough, a bookmark recommendation for one of my honorable mentions. Apparently, the writers of Animorphs, it turned out they were like a husband and a wife, and the husband went on to write a second series, which focuses on like micro machines, like nano machines. It's a relatively interesting book series. But I listened to somebody just like he had just read the first book in the new series, and he just spent like 3 hours in a podcast talking about Animorphs. It was supposed to be about the new book, but he ended up just talking about this guy who turned into a falcon, and then he got stuck as a falcon, and they're aliens.
I do love the series to death, and I would reread them if I still had the books. And if I think they are actually re-releasing the audiobooks on Audible now in a 2-month rhythm or something like that. I saw something like that, but they're only like 19 books in last time I checked, and I was like, "There's 50 books. I'm not getting into that right now."
Yeah. Subsequent releases taking place on the first or second Tuesday of each month for 5 months.
I mean, and then additionally to those 56 books, there's also the Megamorphs, which I think there's at least 5 of them.
There's a few of them.
Well, respect to the writers.
I googled
that
because
takes a lot of
I
time
had
to write that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, they used a lot of ghostwriters. Well, a lot. There's like 4 of them.
So is this going to be a theme now? Cassie shoehorns this into every episode somehow.
Guys!
And we now take the scheduled Keshi break for Animorphs and Megamorphs.
I will find a way to shoehorn that into every topic.
Yep.
All right. Thank you for that, Kessie. Karen, what have you got?
Right. Okay. So I realized my second 2 both have time travel themes. And this one I actually read for the first time very recently. And it's classified as sci-fi, but yeah, it's time travel and nothing else is sci-fi. So you're just going to have to trust me on this one. This is pretty old. It was released in 1979. So it's called Kindred by Octavia Butler. And it was really groundbreaking when it came. And Octavia Butler has also written lots of sort of feminist theory and also theories about racism and stuff like that. However, this one is fiction, and it's about a young Black woman who is a writer who suddenly finds herself being transported back to her ancestors in U.S. slavery times. And so she goes in and she has to save this young boy. And she saves his life, and she doesn't know what happens. And then she sort of pops back into her own life with her husband and in 1976. And then she keeps sort of popping back. For her, it's only a matter of days, but she pops into this boy's life as he grows up and becomes an adult and stays sometimes for months at a time in this era where, you know, she is a Black woman and she's treated as a slave. And it is an amazing story. It's also really horrifying. So you need to sort of, be ready for that because there is a lot of violence. And I think what this book does really well is it sort of, as we travel with Dana, who is the protagonist, to the past and her sort of reactions to how she's being treated and how the other slaves are being treated, she is so... you sort of end up in her position, and it's the way of understanding slavery, which I think is hard to get when you're not sort of immersed in a fiction story. So it's a very sort of serious book, but it's an amazing book, and it tells me stories that it's so hard to believe that only in the 1800s, in the U.S. it was horrifying. You really need a strong stomach for violence, but it's an amazing story. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but it sort of starts with something really horrifying having happened to her and she popping back and you have no idea what's going on. And then it goes into how she got to that point. The rest of the book is just telling us how she got to that point. And it is it's just this amazing story, and it really immerses you into that world. But also, of course, she resists because, you know, she is a woman of 70s America.
Modern-ish times.
I mean, not really modern, but much more modern than the 1800s. So, yeah.
Yeah. That sounds like a really...
much closer to us.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds like a really like a clever way of showing the juxtaposition. Like I think like even if they never explain the time travel, which I'm assuming they don't because it's not necessary for the point you're trying to make, I think that's a very clever idea because it's often very hard to we often tell ourselves that like people from the past were built of different stuff, so we don't associate with them very much. It's very easy to do that, especially when you live in places like Iceland where you have your grandfather who didn't have running water. And it's like, yeah, he lived in different times. I can never assume his experiences. But yeah, that sounds like a really clever idea of like trying to get that point across and trying to get you to like really think about the situation and the people and the
yeah, exactly. And it's a very sort of, it's not preachy. You know, it's not sort of, I am now going to teach you things through sci-fi. It's very sort of, here's this woman and she's in an impossible situation and what the hell is she going to do? And it also tells the story of how she sort of consents to being a slave, because what the hell else is she going to do while she sort of goes about her life and tries to not get killed, you know? It's really, it's horrifying in so many ways, but it's, you know, it's a good horrifying, you know, yeah, especially for us white folks to read, I think.
Sounds like you enjoy uncomfortable sci-fi that like challenges you.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at my 3 and I was like, okay, so basically this is kind of horrifying, all of them in different ways. Maybe I should have picked horror instead of sci-fi, but I did not. So
I would have had even less than.
I assure you, I have never read a horror book.
Not even a Stephen King?
Nope.
Really?
Oh, I read
doesn't interest me.
I've read some H.P. Lovecraft, but no Stephen King. And I was only reading H.P. Lovecraft because I thought it was cool and unique and different. And, you know, everybody was doing it for like 10 years ago.
Everybody was doing it. You just jumped on a bandwagon, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. But I mean, this one I would recommend to anyone who has sort of a strong stomach for violence, but is interested in a really, really powerful story. It's amazing. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. We will. I really like sci-fi that does make you have to think about stuff, and I don't always need sci-fi explained. Like genuinely, some of the, and I'll have to go back to Star Trek because I love it. Some of the better ones are the ones that shine a light on that history, because you can't. If you just talk about it, you can very easily forget it. But if you're immersed in it, or it's shown to you very directly, or if you have really good writing can immerse you in that world, you aren't able to look away. And if you look away, it's because you choose to, and then you have to live with that knowledge. And I like stories that make you have to think about that. But yeah, I think Aether calling out your love for horror.
Yeah.
That's a solid call.
Fair.
It's not exactly horror. It's that like feeling of uneasiness. I assume like
unease.
I'm not insinuating that you love the Saw franchise. Like it's more that like creeping
I think
horror.
that sci-fi challenges dread a lot.
Yeah.
Oh yes,
Just different varieties of
fear.
Just in all kinds of ways.
I think dread is a really good word for it. Like a lot of sci-fi has that like underlying feeling of dread of like this could possibly be your future, or in your case, the past. But like this could possibly be your existence.
Yeah.
It's
All right, Neil, what have you got?
A movie.
Furiously Googles.
Don't be a coward. Say Hunger Games. You were gonna.
No, I wasn't. God, I got a couple, but I don't know. I'm gonna go ahead and do this one right now because I know it's good, but it should be my number 1 probably. Just know that I don't usually do the 3, 2, 1 in any order.
Nobody does it except
fiercely
We
me.
already
Googles.
know you. We
Yeah.
already know. So does the
Children of
audience.
Men was a book
Mm.
before it was a movie, apparently.
True.
And I used to really enjoy that movie.
All right, don't spoil it
There are
because
2 people who nod. I have no idea. I've never heard of this.
Here we go.
no spoilers because my intention has always been to read the book. But like, give us the premise. Give us the plot.
Give me the pitch.
yeah, pitch, elevator pitch.
Why should I not go find out the why should I not go find out spoilers? Just give me a good pitch.
So basically, humans become infertile, and they became infertile 2 decades ago. So there hasn't been another child on Earth in 2 decades. There's no teenagers anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the premise that I've heard. I've heard it compared to some other bullshit that I've like other media I've consumed, where like Children of Men, the kind of looming apocalypse of humanity is like the backdrop.
Hmm.
But it's not about that, is it?
No, I'm trying to remember exactly how much of this. Give me 1 second because I actually do have to find a Googleable thing about this now so that I can figure out how much of this was on the surface of the advertising of this movie. Just give me 1 second.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I can remark because I just Googled it because I thought I'd seen it, but I haven't. That it's also from 2006, which The Prestige was as well. Is this a theme, Neil?
This is.
Neil watched
Neil.
movies in 2006.
Yep. And
I
then
watched a
no
lot of movies in high school.
Never again.
Neil.
No, there's a video game I played like a long time ago called Lisa the Painful, and the backdrop of the game is there was a war, and basically through like no intention, all the women died, and there are only men left. And this one dude randomly just finds an infant girl, and the entire story is about how shit of a father he is, how horrible he is, and it's such a fucking good game. Oh, I love it. Absolutely adore it. It's the entire, what was it? Somebody said that the theme of the story, if summed up in one word, would be when you started, it was already too late to be a good person. And it's such a fucking good theme.
Yeah.
Through the entire game, you think you're trying to do the best and you're trying to be a good person. Once you get to the end, it's like, no. You were already shit. There was no undoing what you had already done. It's just like, yes. And they didn't hide what you had already done. It's not like there's like a reveal later that you were somehow worse than you thought you were. Like, no. You just already were. We don't have to explain it further. You just were shit. It's a fantastic game. And then they made the second game and it was not as good.
Oh.
He was just wrapping up the story, in my opinion. Like the main character gets kind of written out in the end of the first game, and he just wanted to wrap up like the situation.
So everything you liked
So, Neil.
was gone. Yeah. Okay.
It still has the backdrop, which I liked. It still has the very weird music, which I liked. But yeah, it didn't have the same oomph. It didn't have the shit character you'd been playing the entire game who sacrificed everything to be a good person, and at the end it didn't matter because he was already a shit person. I could talk about that game for hours.
Yeah. Now that is a really good
Yes,
premise.
and he has.
The movie, I don't know. I'm not going to spoil a lot, if any. But if you do care a whole lot, then stop the podcast.
And watch the movie.
Stop the podcast.
Don't pause
Watch
the
the movie now.
podcast.
And then go watch
Go
the
watch
movie and then come back.
like I am totally doing now.
Yes, absolutely.
We're gonna watch the movie
me
real
react
quick.
to that
All right.
movie on Patreon.
No, god damn it, Cassie!
Out next week.
Don't listen to Cassie, it doesn't know what it's talking about.
It's an apocalyptic thing. It's very
Okay,
grim.
I'm on board.
It's very grim. The movie starts with like very solemn like news in a very broken. You can tell the government's messed up. Everything's broken. Society is on the brink of collapse. News is going around that the last child born, who was someone in their 20s, at this point, has died. Like everything is not great. And it ends up being a movie. And this is, I don't know. this is probably one of the key points of the movie, but like there becomes a thing in the movie they have to protect, basically, in this very broken society. And it's a very drama movie, but it's very good.
Let's listen to the audiobook together while driving some point.
Uh-oh.
And record your reactions.
I could... No.
It's going to be so long.
On the dash cam.
Audiobook reactions
And put
for
it where?
16 hours.
Where are we going to put it?
Oh no, is he gonna say it? Is he gonna say it?
No.
We'll put it on YouTube.
Oh no, another paragraph.
It's a new chapter.
Oh, I did not see that full stop coming. Who used the Oxford Common? Look at those fancy fucks.
All
right,
actually, you
I'm
can
with
just
it.
critique the narrator endlessly.
Like, I wouldn't have said it like that. And as a published audiobook
You
author,
would never.
this is not how you would do
never.
it.
Okay.
That's not the voice I would have given this character.
Yeah. Anyway, Aethod, what have you got?
All right. So this book is actually Icelandic. It's called Love Star, and it's written by Andri Snær Magnússon, and it's written in English, so you can enjoy it. It is genuinely one of my favorite fucking books. I have not reread it once. It just sits in my brain like fucking like steel. It is pure as fuck. The start of the book is you have a guy in an airplane, and he's holding something, and he's like, "Oh, I think I fucked up." And then they start explaining the book. The story is basically some guy in Iceland randomly found a way to find soulmates, people that belong together, that will be happy forever. And he creates an entire business around just finding your soulmates. And Iceland accidentally becomes like the powerhouse of the world through this, because everybody wants this technology, but they make sure that they don't leak it out. And anybody who's going to join in this technology, they have to submit to a bunch of fucking demands. And it's basically how they like force a bunch of countries that don't want to be friends. They force the citizens who want access to this technology to force their politicians to stop doing dumb shit. So it's a very uplifting, and it's supposed to be very like beautiful world, but they corrupt it slowly and surely throughout the book, and they start showing the ugly side of things, and they start showing the ugly side of these things. There's a plot hook. I'm not going to reveal too much, but basically, at some point, they figure out that like all soulmates and all these things, they seem to congregate at one point. All these, it all goes through this one point. And he goes there, the guy who invented the Love Star machine, and he finds an acorn. And all soulmates, every single love goes through this acorn. And he's just like, fuck is this? Picks it up and goes on his jet. And it starts dying in his hands. And that's the start of the book, but which gets revealed later. And it's so weird. It's such a fucking mind trip reading through the book. It's great. I absolutely adore it. However, the ending is not great. I'm not going to call it trash, but it reveals very heavily the kind of political ideology of the guy. Because the ending of the book is basically all civilization is wiped out, all technology is wiped out, and human returns to nature. And we're supposed to be there. And now they are truly happy because they don't have all these machines distracting them. And it's just like, oh, come, you wanker. Everybody was happy with the machine. Fuck off.
We like our machines.
Yeah, but he does throughout the book do a good job at corrupting all the beautiful things that he made. And I do recommend it. And it sits in my brain just like a fucking... I love it. I absolutely love it. Love Star by Andri Snær Magnússon.
I love that you did this because I had originally had an idea that maybe we should do... I should ask everyone to find something that was not written in the language that we're speaking right now, originally. Although you say this one was written actually in English, but I realized I didn't know any Swedish authors that did any good sci-fi that I enjoyed. So I was like, okay, nope, not doing that.
Yeah,
but I love that you did.
It's deceptively difficult, but it's probably one of the few Icelandic books that I can recommend because I find Icelandic authors lean a little bit too heavy into the noir crime genre, and I'm just not a fan of it. So it's a little bit hard to recommend.
So Iceland is the powerhouse of the world.
Is that the only thing you took away from my story?
Yes, you said that, and I immediately started laughing. But when you do transatlantic flights, you do end up usually stopping in Iceland. So I can understand that. I was just like, huh? Hey.
It's less that Iceland is; it's more that Love Star, the company, is. It's capitalism taken to its logical extreme, really. If a company could provide us with a product that we would be willing to throw away our entire government for, then that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Fortunately, technology evolves slow enough that we don't throw everything away at once.
Just little bits and pieces until the new one comes along and those little bits and pieces get thrown out. Oh, boy. That wasn't the only thing I took away, by the way. It was just the one thing that stuck in my brain.
It's a book I can genuinely recommend. I think it's the world building he does in the book is fantastic.
I love that image of the acorn and it's dying on the plane. That just caught my attention. I was like, I should read this. Yeah.
He keeps like the story happens from three perspectives. It's the world, like just you're looking at the world evolve, the guy that owned Love Star, and a couple that believes they found their soulmate without Love Star, and Love Star's calling them, going like, no, you're wrong. You didn't find your real soulmate. And they're like, fuck off. We're happy.
Fair.
No, we have two people meant for you. Please stop it. You're ruining everything.
Funnily enough, there is a Netflix series based around the idea of having a company that can genetically find your soulmate. I think it's called One or The One. I don't really remember, but they've just done one series of it so far, and it's based on how that gets corrupt and like how like they meet the one, and like happily married couples because they're not the ones do the test and realize they're not the ones and then get divorced because they're angry and upset at each other, and one of them tries to stop like the husband trying to find the one woman that lives really close to them, and it's an interesting spurt on that, but then they find out that actually there can be more than one the ones. There can be more than
there can
one
be
several.
soulmates.
And I was like, woohoo! Yes. I was like, yes, finally we see the poly life. No, it was just because their system, I believe, is fucked up. And it just like if like genetically people are similar, like brothers and sisters and siblings, that the system would fuck up and show us more than one. So it was just very similar to that concept of like, here's your soulmate, you should be happy now. Like that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be happy or that you only have one. So.
Yeah, aren't there like a million reality shows that are based on that idea that experts sort of pick your one true love and it never works because they always hate each other.
Yep,
and that's the whole thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. My book number 2 is called Richter 10, and it's about earthquakes, and it's about how the moon used to be a part of the earth, but the additional weight of the moon threw out the spin of the earth, and eventually it spun in such a weird way that the moon flung off and then became our moon. I don't know why this stupid-ass book stuck in my brain. It's a really long book, and I think I read it when I was like 12 or 13. It's a book written by Arthur C. Clarke, who I think also did 2001 Space Odyssey, but I might be wrong on that.
Another into a movie. Funny enough, I learned that they worked side by side during the production of the movie and the book to make them slightly similar, but somehow different.
I think this is the first classic sci-fi author showing up, and we've been doing this for hours now. So yeah,
Yeah, like so again, this was a book that was in my dad's collection, and I got bored one day and he gave it to me to shut me up because I was bored and would not stop talking, so he gave me this book. And yeah, it took me days and days and days to get through because it's a really big, heavy, very science heavy book. It talks about tectonic plates and it talks about earthquakes and it talks about volcanoes and the crust and the mantle of the earth. Everything I know about the earth and earthquakes comes from this book. And the idea that if they're trying to make this model Earth where they could figure out where the next earthquakes are going to be, when the next volcanoes are coming. And they create this model of the Earth as it is, and they go back in time and they put continents in and they put this and that, the other in, and it never seems to work. There's always something subtly wrong with it or something majorly wrong with it. And then they added the mass of the moon to it, and that basically threw the moon off at some point, and suddenly the prediction was perfect. Everything was 100%. And then they predicted a Richter 10 earthquake, and I don't remember if it happened in the book because I only remembered that I was learning shit about the Earth. And I found that cool. The actual plot of the story, I believe there is some romance in there. I think there's some political shit. I don't remember any of that. I just remembered the cool shit about the moon being on the Earth. And that's why I love that book. I don't really know. I recommend it for the science. At least I think it's real science because I think Arthur C. Clarke does a lot of like genuine research on science before he wrote books. Yeah, it's science fiction, but doesn't mean you shouldn't research science. And I liked it. I learned a lot about it. Most of the things I know about the Earth are from that book are in fact true. So I think there's some good stuff apart from the fact that maybe the moon wasn't part of the Earth.
What is the word with
I might call bullshit on that.
What are they?
Tectonic plates.
Plates. Okay, those don't sound round. Okay.
No.
I'm just trying to understand.
They're definitely not round plates.
They should be called...
They're not eating plates. They're not discus plates.
Exactly. Like, if the Earth was round, they would be called the tectonic shells, but no. They're called the tectonic plates.
No, guys, that's not what... No. When you... No, it's not. When you move away from the whole fucking, like, plates have to be a certain thing and they have to be flat. No. Go pick up your plate. Go out there right now and tell me that plate is flat because I'm going to call utter bullshit on that. They always have a slight little, like, bend or a curve or it has, like, some sort of thing in it. It is not flat. You put a bloody, like, ruler or a spirit level on that. It is not flat.
On a flat plate.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's not a plate,
It's
guys.
not like a
The
cutting board.
Please. Yeah, it's got a
Cutting board.
cutting board. It's got a tectonic plate, and a plate is not flat. Please. Yeah, but that was one of the hardest books I'd ever read at that point. It was a good book. I learned a lot of science from it, except the fact that the moon probably wasn't part of the Earth, but that's open to debate. Good science fiction. There was lots of death in it because the Richter 10, I think that earthquake went off, or they might have managed to evacuate everyone in time. I'm not really sure. But yeah, that's a good, solid, old school sci-fi author in there, and I thought I'd at least put one in, and that's probably one of the only other sci-fi books I've read. So,
Full marks.
For the science nerds out there, the current theory for the moon is that the Earth was impacted by a big old asteroid while it was still forming, and the debris collided into the moon, and which is why we share very similar minerals.
right, that was it. That was literally it.
Oh, okay.
That was written in this book. That was literally it.
That's a lot less cool than the Earth wobbled a little bit too hard and the moon just split off.
Okay, let me go. Hey, I read this book when I was like 11 or 12 or 13 or something. The science went well over my head and I clearly did not pay attention to the human plot of this. I paid attention to the plates of this plot. But yeah, that was it. Pretty sure that was it.
Cool.
Yep. For the science, I thought there should be at least one science book in there. So. All right, Kessie.
Yes.
Last time round, what have we got?
Not Animorphs this time.
Okay. Megamorphs.
But I teased in the beginning that my favorite topics in sci-fi are either like strange planes of like shapes that people can live on, or
Cutting boards.
alien biology, cutting boards.
No.
And
No, guys.
the book series that is on my top list has both of those things. It is called the Gaia series by John Varley. The first book is called Titan. And it takes place on something that is called Stanford Torus, which is something that is a wheel shape. And I think in Halo they use the same thingy. They were like where the stuff is playing on the inside of that wheel.
Yeah.
The plot of the series is that on Earth they get a signal from somewhere near Saturn's moon's Titan, and they send a bunch of scientists there to check it out, and they find this large wheel that they somehow get sucked into, and the scientists that are in that space shuttle that crashes into there, they don't realize that they crashed into this wheel. They thought they actually crashed into Titan, so they think that they are on that moon, but they can actually see that something isn't right with the layout of the land before them, because they can see the land stretch out before them and stuff. And they get separated upon the crash, and they try to figure out how to get back together. I don't remember exactly how they figured to get together. But I think they can see, since this not planet, but this thing is basically a wheel. They see that there are spokes that lead up to the center of the wheel, and they try to get to the spoke at the center from the inside of the wheel. And
What's at the center?
At the center is I don't know. I'm not sure what it was. Like it was not a person, not an alien, but it was like something akin to a god that created this whole thing. I don't remember exactly what they were, but they're called Gaia. But throughout the travel across the land, the humans meet like all those aliens that live inside of this thing that were created by Gaia, and one of the main races there are they are called the Titanites. They are like centaurs, but here comes the strange bit, which was what got me interested in this book series in the first place, because I was researching science fiction books that dealt with alien genders. And like if there could be more than two genders, and the Titanites, they technically have two genders, but they have 3 genitalia, so they actually have 16 ways of mating with each other.
We humans only have 2 genitalia, and we still have 16 ways to meet each other.
I was wondering
Only
if we were gonna
16, Cassie?
No,
Wow.
we're gonna
Not very creative.
we were gonna get to alien sex. I thought it would turn up at some point in this conversation, and here we are.
I am here for the alien sex.
Yay!
Yes.
No, but they don't just have 16 ways of mating with each other, but like 16 ways of coupling with each other. Like technically, one Titanite could become the parent, like the sole parent of like with self-fertilization and stuff like that, or the child could have anywhere between 1 to 4 parents.
Okay.
Which was really cool. And what else? Yeah, that was what got me interested in that whole thing. And then, like, the entire series was written at the end of the 70s, and the author had this thing for lesbians. So the main character is also like a hardcore lesbian. Which was, I find, very ahead of its time for the end of the 80s, 70s.
Yeah, true.
So yeah, that was, I didn't find that out until I was reading it. I was like, oh, this is cool.
This reminds me of the Ranma series, I think they're called. Yeah.
Do you mean the anime?
No, that's like a weird one. No, sorry. I think it's called Ranma or something like that, or Ramna.
I don't know.
It's
Rama, yeah.
yeah. I was talking to
My
you.
dad's reading that series, right? Yeah,
He's already read it. Yeah.
yeah. He read it like a fucking
there's-
million times.
There's just like this giant cylinder tube, like the size of the moon, that just passes by Earth. And everybody's just like, the fuck is this? And they get on board. It's like this just giant thing we don't understand that just passes by Earth. In your case, passes by Titan. It sounded just similar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like those kinds of things.
Well, then I guess I can recommend Ranma because it's written by, I think, Clark.
I want to say Arthur C. Clarke.
Yeah.
Like almost everything in his book is Arthur C. Clarke or something DOS.
Yeah. And apparently it was like a really, really good series that you can read.
Okay.
But I don't
you
think it
figure
has a
out
lot
how
of alien genitalia. So sorry.
Ah, damn it! The selling point.
Yep.
Where is the selling point?
Yep, Arthur C. Clarke, that is Rama, and there's like a big bunch of those
Rama.
books.
Yeah.
Rama.
If you post it in the chat, maybe I will look it up. I have to give a honorable mention to another book of the same author. I don't remember the entire plot of it, but I do remember that the characters just randomly they had the technology to just randomly change sex, so that happened throughout the entire book, and I was like, wait, what's this?
Who is this character, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and the main character was often described by the inhabitants of other planets that she visited as the woman with the legs that were so hairy like horses.
Wow.
Because she always had a brush with her that like she was just brushing the long hair on her legs.
Right?
I mean, flaunt it if you got it, I guess.
Oh, I don't think I named the series. It was called the Opiuchi Hotline.
Karen, what have you got?
So this is my third or number one or something. I don't know. I just wanted to mention before I dive into this one that I just realized I could have gone with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And I probably should have, but I did not.
Son of a bitch.
Neil.
Why would you say this now?
I just said it. You can jump on it. Anywho.
No.
We can make this real quick. We only have like 30 more minutes. You can all talk about Hitchhiker's
Yeah.
Guide of the Universe as your top number one or whatever.
The biggest cop out.
If you like the movie, read the books. Just fucking read the books. They're fantastic. They're written like gold. Every single fucking word has a purpose and point in it. It's so fucking funny. Read it.
Or a pun. There's a pun.
Okay.
Anyway, my real number 1/3/ I don't know, is a short novel. I don't think it's a novella. It's a short novel that I read last year. It's called This Is How You Lose the Time War. And it has time travel. It has the sense of dread because there's a time war. And it's very sort of, you don't quite understand what's going on. It is also a queer love story, which is lovely. And it has two species, ? Have this kind of war. And it's told, it's an epistolary story. So it's told in their sort of letters to each other. And apparently the two writers, Amal El-Motar and Max Gladstone, wrote it in an epistolary fashion. So one of them wrote one part and the other wrote the other part. And these two characters, it is cool. And these two characters are only called Blue and Red. And you sort of understand that something is going to go really, really bad, but you don't quite know what. And they're in a war, and this war is sort of across time and across planes. And they jump around everywhere. We're back to the sort of cutting boards again. And they jump around and you just sort of, and they have to send secret messages to each other and fall in love via message. So it's an amazing novel that you don't understand what the hell is going on as you start reading it. You're like, what are they doing? Okay. They hate each other because they're enemies at the beginning. And it's just this amazing story. And they're kind of goddess warriors, kind of something like that. And it has a really cool ending that I will not spoil. But it's one of those, like Russian dolls, you sort of, there's another layer here. Oh, that's really cool. Okay, there's another layer in there, and it's just a really cool story. Yeah.
Is it being told from the perspective of humans or of these two races?
I mean, it's sort of tangents humans, and it could be that maybe one of the races was human at one point and has evolved into something else, or both. Maybe it's left unclear. So, but in the sort of time jumps, you definitely encounter humans as well as other things. It's just very cool story. Yeah.
I've never heard of it. Is it like big? Like, is it something that just has flown under my radar?
It came out in 2019, and it made a bit of a splash then, apparently. And I read it about a year later, I think. In the lockdown months of I need entertainment. Those months. So I think it made quite a splash, but quite new.
All right. Time War sounds cool. I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah. It's
my number 3 book was all about war, so you got me kind of there.
Yeah, it is. It is a time war, and time war. I mean, obviously, for me as a Whovian, it's very sort of Doctor Who-ish as well. Although, and I think both of these authors are aware of Doctor Who, but they're not direct references. But I can sort of see traces of influences in there, which are cool.
Yeah.
I am all on for that like writing style, or that way of developing their story. Is if it is told from two people and they're sending each other messages and that's how you write it, that is just awesome. Like, I think that is such a really interesting idea and interesting way to write a story.
Yeah, and it does sort of mean that the writers have to sort of really know their world and their characters, because otherwise it can get really flat and you don't understand anything of the world. But this one is really sort of, you see so many sort of hints that coalesce into an image of what this weird world is like for these two sort of factions at war with each other.
Yeah, it doesn't like my writing prepping brain, I guess. Like my inner GM is like, this is perfect. It's exactly like role playing. And the other side of like, I've tried to write shit. I'm like, if I have to try and share this world with someone else too, I make most of this shit up on the fly. How would you do that? Sounds like more work there, but not half the work. This isn't okay.
Yeah, I think the two authors sort of established a baseline, and then they sort of
you have to
send off the letters to each other so that they would react in their writing to the other person's chapter. It's very cool. Very cool. And sci-fi. Yeah, I did it. Whew.
Which is the theme of this today's episode. Woo, you nailed
and
it.
it's all my fault.
We did it.
So the premise, two time travelers like sending each other notes. I was like, I've seen a movie or something stupid like that. Did it have like Keanu Reeves in it, or what am I thinking of?
Yes, I love you.
It's called The Lake House, and they're sending each other.
That's it.
They're sending each other letters
through
time. Like, she's in the future and he's in the past, I think. And
Yep.
I looked it up, and it's based on a book. I could have brought this movie and ruined this episode.
You could have. I have an honorable mention, but I will save it to the end unless maybe someone will mention it. Who knows?
How many of Neil's have we ruined, Neil?
All of them.
What have we got?
None.
Did I just ruin The Lake House?
I mean, I've chosen the weird, most left field thing that should have been my number 3 is my number 1. So y'all,
Just do it. Let's do it, Neil. What is it?
okay. The book Annihilation was made, and there was a movie about it, and it's a horror type genre thing where there is I believe a meteor crash, and the site of it becomes really weird, and it's basically like, I don't think it's like spreading or anything, but it's just this weird anomaly on the planet now, and nature seems to be getting weird there, and basically I think the premise ends up. It's kind of like it takes the point of kind of an explorative horror thing where they don't know what's going on. They don't know what it is. They're going in to investigate. And I think it ends up being one of those, this is an alien life type thing, but what is this life's purpose? What is it doing? And it tends to be just copying other life. And that it's kind of like a psychological horror almost as well. So it ends up just being a very weird movie, and apparently it's a very weird but even better book than.
Yeah, I was about to say, now that you say that Annihilation is based on a book, I'm like, yes, that makes sense, because the movie felt like it was trying to be subtle and trying to say things, but it was too busy being a Hollywood movie with really, really fantastic visuals.
Yeah,
So
it's one of those that it's a thinker. Doesn't explain a lot. Doesn't say a lot. Things just happen, and it's a lot.
if you want some fantastic visuals, Annihilation, go watch it. It is. Oh, the like.
I just Googled it, and literally the thing at the bottom of like its big poster is a visually stunning sci-fi thriller.
I find that the movie completely fails to tell any kind of story, but like the just kind of gripping scene, the last 25 minutes of the movie is just so fucking.
Is the end of it set in a lighthouse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Surrounded by
watched
crystal
this movie.
trees.
Yes.
It's so fucking
Yes.
stunning. It's
It's so strange. Like, yeah, visually, it is a beautiful movie. The plot is not there. It's clearly in the book.
I have a feeling, and as soon as you started talking about it, Neil, I was like, oh, like some of the characters they get
Yeah.
kind of infected by environment when they like reveal or something in their character kind of takes hold of them, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
there's probably like a whole bunch of like background that I'm missing, and it's like, oh, like once you give in to your greatest desire or your biggest fear, the annihilation grabs a hold of you and it turns your body against you or whatever. Like that makes way more sense.
It's kind of like a subtle psychological horror
Yeah.
disguised by like the mystery of maybe aliens. What is their purpose? No one fucking knows. It's not discussed. It's just like maybe this is alien life. It mimics other life.
Yeah,
That's
I
what we
think it may
got.
be like also one of those solid things in sci-fi where the science on the point of it isn't the point of the story being told. The point of the story being told is like the interactions or the survival. Like zombies, it's never about the zombies. It's about the
characters.
people.
It's also a
and it's
meteor
as much
crash.
Annihilation is like this.
It's a weird natural phenomenon that came from space off of a meteor. What is this? It's just a thing, and it exists. It makes you question existence and what this is, and what does it have a purpose? No,
The end.
it doesn't. The end. It's just
Well, that was a
nature, and
visually
it just
stunning book.
becomes a survival for the people who are dealing with these things. It just becomes survival, and that's all it is. It's just a little quick horror thing that has a bunch of complicated concepts around it, I think.
That makes me want to read the book.
And I think that it serves that point. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
describe a lot.
Yeah, same here. I want to read it now.
Yeah, because I haven't seen the movie. I meant to see it, but didn't happen. But it's also not from 2006, Neil. So good job.
Ooh.
I know I haven't seen it
Hey.
2018 says
though.
IMDb.
I've seen most of it through absorbing. This is one of those movies that I've watched more analysis of the story and movie and its in what it tried to do than I've actually watched the movie. One of those, I watched what this movie is and what it's about before I watched the movie. I did the same thing with Midsommar, which is a fucking crazy movie.
Midsummer.
It's a horror movie.
A broad daylight horror
I'll
movie.
allow-
Yeah, speaking of Swedish things. Anywho.
All right, Neil might have choked on his drink.
I sometimes that's what I get. That's how I have to determine if a movie's worth my time. A lot of the times, that's me watching people talk about whether they liked the movie or not. And I don't care about spoilers. I just want to watch, you know,
Good shit.
yeah, how the movie challenged this factor of storytelling or whatever the hell I was looking at. It might have been visual. Actually, I think it was visual effects that makes sense because I do watch some visual effects YouTube channels. That's probably where I got the thread from on that one. And then I just went down and discovered a movie that I've almost watched.
So you all.
Well, let's put it like this. The topic was books, and you did movies based on books. So the fact you didn't watch the movies should be surprising to no one. And also fair under this. Not a movie, it was a book. It's fair.
I ran out of things from 2006.
Yeah.
All right.
They only did 2.
All right, Aethel, what's the last on your list?
Roadside Picnic by Arkady and Boris Strugatsky. This is probably the weirdest book I've ever read. The start of it is there are 2 men going into a no-go zone, and they're moving through it really slowly, and one of them touches like a silver thread while moving through there that isn't really there, but he thinks he sees it, but I'm not sure. He's not sure. And they keep going, and they find this item, which is 2 metal plates that are held apart like exactly. It doesn't matter what you do with the other plate, the other one always moves exactly the same amount. And then they leave. And then the book explains that this is the zone. And within the zone, there are anomalies, these items that break all laws of physics. And then the next day, the guy who touched the silver thread has a heart attack and dies. And then the book continues. And it basically explains that at some point, something landed there, and then it left. And it left behind this zone of madness. It's not actively aggressive. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, there are things coming out of there that are incredibly useful for machines and like the furthering of science, but they don't follow logic. And there are things in there that will fucking kill you in no logical sense. And the book follows like 3 different characters throughout it. And it is like, I think it's a Ukrainian or a Russian book, and it is very much an oppressive book. You read this book and everything gets worse in bad ways. It's not like Love Star where things just get like kind of semi-worse and it kind of gets tense. Like, no, this book gets intense in how oppressive it is. You follow the story of this man who lived close to where the zone started, and he didn't leave when he had time, and eventually they find out that anybody who lived close to where the zone is, they are unnaturally lucky. There's no other way to describe it. Those people will die in horrible, violent ways and often take many people with them. No explanation why. Just, this is what happens to these people. So these people are all congregated and quarantined within the area if they can find them, because they will take other people with them. So there's this like just endless element of just weirdness and oppression, and this, you follow this man and he has a daughter, and his daughter's born with like a defect. She's really, really hairy, and he calls his little daughter the monkey, and she's great. And as the book goes on, she gets cuter and wonderful, and then she reaches like 10 and her mind starts going, and she's not herself anymore, and it's just the little piece of light that was in the book starts slipping away. It is so fucking intense, and you're hearing about people that have used the zone to make money, and they've been making deals with the zone, and there's this rumor of a thing in the middle of the zone, and if you make a wish upon it, it will grant it, but it will grow the zone when you do it, if I remember correctly. And there's just this endless. And the book's so fucking oppressive. And I hate to spoil this, because when I read it, it absolutely fucking blows my mind. But the ending of it may be the most, like, human, raw, uplifting thing I've ever read. Even though the book doesn't say if it works or not. It's just the idea, the want of that one person. Just, it wasn't selfish. He just wanted better. He just wanted better for everybody. And then the book ends. And you have no idea what happens after that. And it's such a fantastic book. And it absolutely ruined me for days. It was very intense. And the explanation for what happened in the book, the running theory is, aliens that are way further ahead than us basically landed on Earth, dumped all their garbage, and left. We were just a pit stop, a roadside picnic. They stopped, they put out their blankets, they ate their food, and they threw the plastic in the shrubberies and left.
And it screwed everything up.
And that's and they just created this area of pollution that we don't understand, and we have no way of dealing with.
That is such a cool idea.
Oh, it's fantastic, and it's super, like, it is. It's very similar to Love Star in the idea that, like, it is a book mostly about like theory crafting. Like, you create an idea and then you create the world around the idea. It feels like, and I absolutely love it. I highly recommend it for anybody who can read like oppressive material. But yeah, that's mine.
And who was the author? Did I just forget?
Arkady and Boris Strugatsky. I'm assuming they're brothers. It's called Roadside Picnic. If you Google Roadside Picnic book, you get it instantly.
I was going to ask because I honestly thought you said Broside Picnic, and I'm like, I'm going to ask about it at the end, especially because it sounded like they were either brothers or a couple that wrote this, and I was like, I need an explanation. And then you said the name again. I'm like, okay. That's better. That makes more sense for what the book you're describing should be called, and not Broside. I'm so sorry.
And there's been a movie based on it called Stalker, and from there, a video game I played called Stalker: Shadow of Chernobyl, where they changed the Roadside Picnic into the Chernobyl accident. They basically just take the aliens and remove them, and they add the Chernobyl incident in the middle instead. And that's the entire game. It's a fantastic game, but that's not the point. The point is the book. Read the book.
Yeah.
All right. I have to ask, because I know your obsession with Stalker. Did you read the book before you played Stalker?
No,
or did you read the book because of Stalker?
Do I sound like a guy who reads Russian literature? I can't even say literature correctly.
Yeah, but you might be able to in Russian. I don't know.
No, I read the book because I was reading Stalker-based fan material. So apparently you were allowed to release books using their world as long as you didn't use any of their named elements, their characters, that is. But you were allowed to just use the world. And it was all shit. It was all garbage. It was so underwhelming and unfun. So I decided to read the source material instead of derivative material. That's probably
awesome.
the most smartest sounding thing I've ever said.
Yeah, that was a big word.
The most smartest sounding thingy McJig. Yep. Yep.
And then instantly crash and burn.
As you do.
Well, it has aliens in it. Definitely sci-fi.
Very sci-fi.
The sci-fi tag is very soft, but the existence of the zone is very fantastic and science fiction-y. And the book is very much more about the people and what they do and the kind of oppressive environment.
This seems like very different things, the video game and the book, which seemed to have themes of like desperate people seeking the zone to solve, problems in their lives and things, and that human thing in it. I don't see the video game maybe doing that as much.
No. The video game, like I said, is very tangentially related. They just took the idea of an area where physics doesn't make sense anymore and it's super hostile, but it has rewards in there. Rewards in the form of cash money. And that's a driving force. So, of course, you can gamify it that way. But the
add currency equal game.
Yep.
If currency is game.
Yes. That sounds super strange.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely sounds super strange. So was it were they actually brothers who wrote this?
I wouldn't know. I could not find the book on Kindle. I could not find the book in any audiobook format. I eventually found a weird PDF that I hacked into my Kindle and read it like that. And I had to read it sideways because the font scrunched up so weirdly, and I had a small Kindle. So I had to flip the pages 3 times for every page. It was a nightmare, but it absolutely mesmerized me and hypnotized me into reading the whole whole thing. So I don't.
According to Wikipedia, they are brothers.
Aha!
There we go.
Yep. I
Lee's
have
just
nothing
shaking her
else.
head. No, there's nothing to say. This is not a book to talk about unless you've read the book. It's
Okay, we're now going to go read the book, all of us, and come back
Yes,
in like
please.
10 hours.
Right, we're going to read it
We're
first
making a
and come
book
back.
club.
And then
eh.
Yay!
See you again next week when we react
I was
to
just
the
thinking,
book.
like, it's really hard to find. I had to hack it. I'm like, how the fuck am I going to make a link to that, Aethel?
I'm sure it's on Kindle by now. This was like 7, 8 years ago.
Somewhere. All right. So, I have a little story about my book before I actually talk about the book.
Oh.
So, Aethel, you were talking about reading fan fiction based on Stalker.
It was
You
not.
could call it what it is, not fan-based stories.
It was
It's a
genuine.
fan
It was
fiction.
published, so it's not fan fiction.
Yeah, well, so is 50 Shades of Grey, but that's not published,
That's
dude.
still not fan fiction. That's a non sequitur.
It started off as fan fiction.
What is it?
Anyway, so Aethel was looking up fan fiction. So I used to be obsessed in my late teens with the really old school TV show A-Team. And I read some really weird fan fiction. Some of it was good. Some of it was so bad, I equated it to car crash syndrome, where you just can't help but read it. I have to know where this shit story is going. Anyway, one of the better fan fiction writers had her stuff up on her own website. I'm like, I'll read that. I was like, I read through it. Yeah, it gets a bit long, and then it starts like devolving and talking about other characters, and she's like, fuck it, I prefer writing my own stuff, so that's what I'm gonna do. She nicks this series halfway through. I'm like, it's okay, and I'm upset. However, I read her new series, and she is a writer who very much believes the words in space added to anything makes it instantly better. And so she decided to write a science fiction book, and she released it weekly, chapters, bits and pieces here and there. And the series is about humans becoming a military race. Every single human is scripted into the army, and that's it. That is entirely our purpose in the galaxy. There are the big three. The big three are aliens. They all have strange names. They have strange cultures, strange words, and they're consistently at war. But they're not good at fighting wars. Humans are good at fighting wars. So the big three would hire humans, the race, to go fight on their behalf in the war. But humans being a military kind of mercenary faction now, whoever paid us the most would be who got our services. So we would change who we worked for on a dime. As you would expect, humans are scum, and we do some really dodgy shit to ensure that we are continually being hired by different people for much more expensive rates. And someone finds that out. And he basically takes his little unit of people, basically persuades other people that humans are shit and we're doing this. So he takes that group of people and he eventually takes them back to Earth, and he dies. He's called the Prophet. But one of his subordinates, which is actually one of these like straight talking guys who has no real belief in any of this shit, but hey, this guy needs someone to protect him, actually brings down the defensive network around Earth, and all the other aliens, he broadcasts what the fuck we're doing as shit human beings. And that's the entire story. And it's amazing. It's amazing to have this very straight-laced soldier that I could get behind, that's based in logic, who doesn't believe all this like conspiracy shit, be the person that takes down humanity. And it's an amazing concept of humans, and you're on different ships, you're going to different planets, you're coming across different aliens, you are involved in the conspiracy, but the main character doesn't give a shit, so you don't give much of a shit about it. And it's such a beautiful setup and a wonderful idea of humanity, the entire race, we're just mercs. That's all we are now. We're the only thing we've ever been good at is killing each other, so let's make that a thing in the galaxy. We're just good at killing
We took
things.
it global in World War, let's take it to the galaxy now.
Basically, and it's just this really interesting like all her other fan fiction was okay. This is amazing. I don't know where the fuck this came from. So I read it for free when it came out, and she now has it available. She has a different name now. It's called Shoot the Humans First, and it's by Becky Black. And you can get it for like a dollar on Kindle or whatever the fuck it is. And it's an amazing read. It's just very strange. The world building is great. The characters are hilarious. There are definite romance tones in there, and I love it. It's so good. And it talks about the way that, you know, humanity doesn't raise your own children anymore. You procreate because you want to make the strongest soldiers. You give birth, you and the parents are there for like a year, and then you fuck off back to whatever thing you've been thing, and, you know, the state raises children. Like, that's just how it is. Like, that's the entire race. And I love it. Yeah.
Becky Black sounds like a really pseudonym
I will
name.
get back to
Okay.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
yeah, I knew her under her her writing, her actual name, and then she changed it to release. And then a couple of years after she actually released this, I like had a publisher done. She like changed the name that she was writing under. She wrote a sequel to this called Jimmy's Hollow, and it's about the only humans who survived because all humanity got wiped out rightfully by the big three, surviving in this place called Jimmy's Hollow, which is a space station, and the space station gets attacked by a completely different alien threat, and it's how they defend that. It's a much smaller book. It's a much more about a random side character, and it's still a good read. It's not as good as the first one, but it's still pretty good. And I wrote an entire space sci-fi campaign based on the premise of Shoot the Humans First, and it was a great campaign, and I loved it.
Is Spiced based on that idea?
Spiced spaced version. The campaign that I ran, which was I don't remember the name of it now. But yeah, the entire campaign of that is based on the idea that humans are a mercenary unit. Yeah, it was great. I even used the same Black Stabby plot twist of like, haha, we're the ones doing it. Except my players called it first and they didn't give a shit. So I was like, how the hell do I make this an interesting plot now? But as it was, they came up with their own plot, so we finished out that way. So that was great. So yeah, that's one of my favorite sci-fi books. Like, it has a lot of aliens in it, has a lot of conspiracy stuff in it, uses a lot of like it kind of talks a lot about like spacecraft and how like the challenges you would face like traveling that way. It's just a really good story. I remember it being really good. I was 16 and I was reading fan fiction, so I don't know how good my taste in books was, but there we go.
Okay.
I love that you found that through fan fiction. That is so cool.
Yep. So she wrote 3 sci-fi books, and then she wrote a lot of erotica.
That was the one, of course.
Yeah, this is the one that wrote. I can't see Arthur C. Clarke writing a lot of erotica, but before when we chatted, I mentioned one of the authors, and it's this one.
When you said the name of the author, I was instantly like, right, the porn writer.
Yeah.
Like, that's such a porn writer name.
It is.
Yeah,
I thought that's what you were gonna say, Aethor, and then you said something else, and I was like, but isn't this the obvious thing to say?
So
it's Betty Black. It's Shoot the Humans First, and the follow-up novel called Battle of Jimmy Hollow. They're amazing. They're just really good books. So
Cool.
So
I'm glad I read them for free.
when you opened up with like, oh, I used to read fan fiction, I don't know why my mind went there, but I know you love Fallout, and I know
Yes.
there exists a Fallout fan fiction. That
I
is 600.
stopped reading fan fiction after I got onto this author. So I basically only ever read 18 fan fiction, and there was a lot of it, and a lot of it was really shit because the series wasn't great, but there were interesting ideas in there. Some of it was great. I found her original fiction, and after that, I kind of just stopped reading it because I actually started reading more original content. So I have not read Fallout fan fiction either.
So the fan fiction I was thinking of is infamous. It is 620,000 words long. For reference, the entire Lord of the Ring, including Hobbit, is 570,000 words. And it is a Fallout My Little Pony crossover fiction. And when you said it, I was like, no way. We might have to break up.
I have not read that. I have not read that.
That does sound amazing.
Yes,
Get
it
in
does.
here. We are betting on the breakup again.
Oh, no.
Remember, Aethor said if, not when. No, when, not if.
No, I said when. If, no.
All right, so we're gonna go watch all that now. Read all that, and then we'll be
Read
right
all
back.
And come
And you
back
can
and
catch our
discuss
review
it.
on Patreon.
No, stop it.
Neil reacts
Stop it, Neil.
to V and Aethor reading this.
Breaking up.
No. I think it needs to be Aethor reacts to really bad A-Team fanfiction.
Live audiobooks.
All right, let's really quickly do honorable mentions. Keep it short and brief. What have we got? Kessie,
Oh, I already did my honorable mention.
you did.
But- Yeah, you broke off at that point.
I have one.
Karen.
Yeah, my one is The Time Traveler's Wife by Audrey Niffenegger, which is a love story told in various, like, two people who are not in sync, which is a concept that I just love.
Also,
Has there been a
the
movie
name
about that?
of a Doctor Who episode.
Yes, but not quite. And the book came first.
Okay, all right.
I think the titles are slightly different, but I can't remember in which way.
Yeah. I don't remember which way round. It was
Yeah.
subtly different, but yes.
Yeah. But it references this novel.
Cool. Neil, I remembered your name.
Aha.
You know
What
who
about-
this is.
War of the Worlds. Aliens. What about them?
I'm going to say yes, because I love War of the Worlds. I haven't read the book, but I have watched the very shit movie. I have listened to the incredible radio play that was put on, and I have repeatedly, on repeat, listened to the War of the Worlds by Jeff, whatever his name is. It's amazing.
Is that the musical you keep randomly turning on when we travel at night?
Yeah. Ba, ba, ba.
It is spooky. She never turns it on when there's light out and we're driving. It's only when it starts getting dusk and night.
So good. And there are such amazing performances in the musical. I love it, and I've seen it live, and it's so good. Anyway, Karen. Sorry, Neil.
The Iron Giant. Robots. What about them?
Yes, we
This
say
one's
yes
real
to
big.
robots.
Is it a kind robot with a soul? Who knows? Do androids dream of electric sheep inspired the movie Blade Runner?
Yep, I've actually read that
Robots.
one, and it
What
is
about
not fantastic. The book.
I think I may have read it as well, but it's hazy.
Jurassic
yeah,
Park. Dinosaurs.
I can't remember.
What about them?
No, Neil. Neil. No.
Neil, it's past
What?
midnight, please.
One more, Neil. You're allowed one more.
Dune is an upcoming movie. And it's also been a movie already. but
Also,
Oh, it's upcoming
Has
series,
been.
right? Like they're going to turn it into a series.
is it a
Dune.
TV show?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think they're
Like
making
my dad was babbling
movie.
on about it when I was visiting him the other day.
apparently it's very good.
Yeah.
I have not read it and I have not seen it because it hasn't come out, but I'll probably watch it because of how good the book is supposed to be.
But isn't there already a movie about Dune?
Yeah, it's supposedly pretty bad.
I
Yes.
think that's Patrick
Oh.
Stewart in it.
Okay.
I don't know what it's about. My
Yeah.
very loose understanding is that it's
Earthworms.
about a planet where this thing is that it only exists on this planet, that it really helps like time travel. It's kind of like a drug and it makes you it makes you great. But you can only get it from this one planet, and this planet has a ruler. And basically the themes that are explored are all about like the people who seek this out. Why? Like, the themes of religion, economy, morals, all of the above.
I thought it was about drugs, worms, and princesses.
Probably it might be.
Space drugs.
I think it's a
and
very big
people
book.
meant for greatness. That's what it's about.
I only know worms.
I think the poster is orange. That is my knowledge.
Yeah.
So for the
Giant
Dune
lampreys.
fans, for the Dune fans out there, I can only say this.
Tell me what it's about.
I can't tell you enough about it. All I know is the first book's super heavy. If you get through it, you're finishing all of them. That's basically what I've been told. I've tried to start the first book like 3 times and I can't get through it.
I imagine the books are definitely going to be a situation where they go through a lot more topics than the movie will get to explore. So, yeah, that's probably going to suck. Because by my understanding of them, they're not small books. It's not a short read.
No, they are massive.
Yeah, but I hear they're very good.
Massive books.
And I hear when people talk about them, I'm just like, that sounds pretty cool. It sounds like a sci-fi thing that explores a lot of concepts via that one, planet perspective. So I guess that's what it's about. We'll see when it comes out. I'll let you know.
And orange.
And hopefully orange in there somewhere.
Yep.
Hey, Phil,
I know.
honorable mentions.
Anders Game, don't at me, just pirate it if you don't like him. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, read it if you wanna read some of the most fantastic writing you will ever fucking read in your life. It's just...
Watch the British TV series and not the movie.
The movie's fine, it's just not nearly as good as the writing.
No. Not as good as the series either.
I would agree with the B.
My hook for anybody who's doesn't know if they want to read it, in the movie there's a scene where they touch the all possibility button and they turn 2 rockets into a whale and a potted plant. And the scene goes through the mind of the whale as it's falling down, and it's like, ooh, what is this? Oh my god, I can feel a lot of I'm going to call this air rushing past what I'm going to call my head. And oh, what is this? I have fins, I think I'm going to call them. Oh, and look at that. What is that big thing coming towards me really, really fast? I'm going to call it ground. Hey, ground, will we be friends? Thump. Fantastic scene. Then the scene shows the potted plant, and it's what the potted plant thought was a lot stranger. It simply said, oh no, not again. And
Not again.
That gets absolutely explained in the book. I highly recommend it just to find out what the fuck that potted plant was talking about.
Oh no. not
Also,
again.
I read this first in Swedish, and I will die on this hill. The Vogon poetry is funnier in Swedish than it is in English, in the original. It just is. Yep.
I have it on my shelf. I need to reread it.
Oh, blimey. All right. I'm going to say Day of the Triffids, because it's giant plants that take over the planet, and I fucking love it, and Triffids terrify the shit out of me. I listened to it first on an audiobook at school, and that's how I got into audiobooks. It's terrifying. I used to have a plant at the end of my driveway in Britain, which grew really tall and looked like a Triffid. I'm like, fuck this, and I had to cut it down. And my other one is going to be 2001 Space Odyssey, because...
Good.
I love that fucking movie.
That's a good
I
one.
haven't read all the book. I read a good portion of it. I love it. It's just such good, interesting concepts in there. So there we go. That's my honorable mentions.
Did you assault a random plant in your driveway because you read a book?
Die, you
And people
plant! I read a book!
And they say books don't instill violence.
They still terror. Like, I listened to the audiobook and it was bloody terrifying as a kid.
That's
like
brutal,
listening to
yeah.
just like descriptions. Yeah, it was horrible. And like they're talking about moving. I think it's through London. I think that they're moving through, and how like people who can see like get press ganged into helping everybody else out. And it's just interesting. It's like Zombie Survivor without the zombies and more plotted plants. It's terrifying. And then
Well, from that plant in your driveway's perspective, you reading words
oh no, not
off
again.
of a dead corpse of a tree that make you scared enough to go out and commit a plant murder to it. That's a horror
I couldn't,
sci-fi.
all right?
On
It
its
was
own.
really tall. You don't understand. It was really tall and had no sense being in this garden in England. I'm just saying. And funnily enough, one night, actually, the night that I met Neil for the very first time, I was printing out all of my project files to take to college that first thing in the morning. I had to be up at like 7 a.m. and I knew I wasn't sleeping, so I just agreed to do this meeting with everyone. I was watching Day of the Triffids, which was a TV series back from the 70s, I think it was. And that was also a terrifying watch for me. I clearly just don't like nature or plants.
Oh, no.
Sorry, nature. Sorry, plants. Yeah, And I think there was a movie, but I won't watch that. I'm not doing this. Yeah. All right, folks. That brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for joining us from Sweden. We very much appreciate it.
Thank
this
you.
was a interesting topic, which we managed to talk an extremely long time about, despite none of us knowing shit about sci-fi.
I'm so sorry.
Yay. We did
no
it.
apologies needed.
Yay!
It was great.
It was so fun talking to you
Join
guys.
us on Patreon next time when we watch react to random movies.
Corinne,
Back to Day of the Truffin.
Corinne, you need to do your shout outs. You need to hawk your wares. Where can we find you? What are you
Yeah,
doing?
hook your wares.
All right. Okay. You can find me on Twitter at Karen Haim. That's KarinHeim. Or you can find my audio drama at Y2K Pod. And that's the number 2.
I'm in it.
And so
Me
is V.
too. hey, also hawk your new one. Hawk your new one, which is sci-fi.
Oh, right. Yeah. Which is actually sci-fi. I'm writing it kind of now. It's called Cheka. It's CHAIKA Pod. Also on Twitter. And if any of this is confusing, go to my website, which is y2kpod.com.
I'm gonna be in it, right?
You're going to be a twin with David Alt or something, right? Yes?
Yeah, David O is
In
my
season
twin.
15. Season 15.
He's an Irish messenger, and I'm his much younger Scottish twin.
Yep. Yep. And you're going to be in season 15. This is going to be great.
Established canon. This is happening. I love it. All right. I'm V. Thanks for listening. And wait. We already picked who was going to do next week. It's me. I remember. I'm doing the topic for next time.
Professional.
Randomly
Solid.
rolled.
Professional.
Utter professional.
Insert dice rolls here.
Bye.
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 Bye. Thank you.
Hi everyone, it's V here. Just a little thank you for listening to the episode, I guess. This is the second one this month, and it wasn't as scary as maybe we had planned it to be, but for a topic I think none of us other than Karen may know anything about, I think we did pretty well. I think we did pretty good. Brought back a lot of fun memories about some of the books we read as well. If you want to help the show out, there is always the Patreon that you can go check out, which is now patreon.com/Blighthouse. Or you can leave us a review on whatever podcast capture app of your choice. It really helps us get discovered. Tell your friends, tell your neighbours, tell someone on the bus, get them to come listen to us, leave a review, and that would be awesome. I think that's pretty much it for Scary Month. Thank you so much for listening, and go check out Cheka, because it is now out, and it is freaking awesome. Bye! This has been a Blighthouse Studio production. Thank you for listening.
This is Valen Solarin, engineering lead lunar mining, seeking urgent status update on, well, Earth.
Cheka, a science fiction audio drama.
Nothing has been heard from the Mars colony since before Earth went silent. Maybe they all died too, and all I will find is their bones. I could be the last human. I cannot stay. Trost,
Cheka.
could you prepare the shuttle?
Affirmative. Long or short range journey?
Oh, long, very long.
Velkommen. I am Hygge. How may I have the pleasure of addressing you?
It's Cheka.
Cheka, Russian for seagull. Call sign of Russian cosmonaut Valentina Tereshkova, the first Earth woman.
In space, yes, my mother gave me that name.
Probably time you got to know some non-human people.
Oh, you mean like you?
Yes, I am a delightful acquaintance.
Yes, I'm sure you are.
You frightened her.
She'll get over it. She has other things on her mind.
Cheka, releasing 2022. For more information, please visit y2kpod.com/Cheka. That's CHAIKA.
Repeat. Priority communication to Moonbase. Get back to me and tell me this is just a glitch, all right? Please.